Coming up on Theater Talk.
You know what was really shameful? This has been a trend over the recent years of pushing the technical awards into the unbroadcast hour. Now
the creative awards,
the score, the book, the directors, and the choreographer. What is Broadway? I mean,
it's just a bunch of gay people hopping and tap dancing, apparently.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
Well, Michael, last night were the Tonys.
Yep, Broadway's gayest night, a big celebration. And to assess the Tony Awards and the fallout from that, we have three prominent theatrical homosexuals with us on Theater Talk. Patrick Pacheco from New York One on Stage and the Los Angeles Times, and Art something or other.
And Sage.
And Stand Right. Michael Musto of his own blog called...
It's not my own blog, it's out.com.
Out.com.
I just hopped here like Bobby Van. I'm exhausted.
I'm sure we're going to get to that in a moment. And our friend Jesse Green from New York Magazine.
and Hustler.
And Blue Boy.
Blue Boy, sorry. I've switched allegiances recently.
All right, we're laughing about this, but it's kind of true. Patrick made this observation that, is it possible that this is the gayest Tonys ever? Because I'm old enough to remember, I think one of the very first times somebody thanked his lover on the telecast, and there was all controversy about it. And when they would wear the AIDS ribbons, they were instructed not to mention what the ribbons signified. I mean, now Hugh Jackman is making a gay joke every time.
Every 5 minutes.
Every
Remember
5 minutes.
when Scott Whitman and Mark Shaman kissed?
Oh, kissed!
And
that was another big
huge
controversy here too. So what's
This show was so gay it turned me straight again. Neil Patrick Harris kissed his husband David Burka twice, once in character as Hedwig. Alan Cumming was pinching Chorus Boys. I think it was part of the show Cabaret, I'm not sure. I mean, and also, Patrick also pointed out that it was a wonderful night for African-American civil rights, because All the Way won Best Play, which is about LBJ passing a civil rights landmark act. Audra McDonald won a landmark 6th Tony, and of course, Raisin in the Sun won 3 awards.
Yeah. Has Broadway just said, you know, look, this is generally a gay community. The theater is watched by gay people. We can't hide it anymore. We can't pretend it isn't.
Oh,
That's
I don't think it's that. It's just that all the straight people who are winning and up there, they don't have a political need to French kiss their partners. You know? So it sort of skews the optics of the situation.
I think they just threw in the towel. You might as well join them. I mean, what's the point of fighting it, in a way? And it's just the nature of the business and the fact that there are so many gay artists creating theater. So it's inevitable that Broadway is going to reflect that.
Well, when Neil Patrick Harris, for instance, licked Samuel L. Jackson's glasses, what kind of sexuality is that? I'd like to know.
It's a particular fetish.
I think we've left the
it's called
duality of gay and straight.
But if you notice, when Tina Fey came out, she wasn't wearing glasses, and that's why.
All right, now I think we all we didn't do too well with our crystal balls. We were predicting.
Well, some of us did less well than others. Mr. Real, beautiful, Tyne Daly, Mayor Winningham.
I missed.
Wow, you were paying attention?
I looked it up.
All right, so the upset, I guess, Patrick, was Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, which toppled.
The upset.
Well, we thought
Only
was the
to you,
favorite.
didn't we all?
Well, beautiful.
Yeah,
What
you
did
all
we say?
predicted it.
You did?
Not.
I absolutely did.
Wow.
All right. Well,
Absolutely.
what do you
Very good.
what do you think happened? I mean, Gentleman's Guide is not doing well at the box office. It really can have no tour. The road presenters don't seem to want it. Beautiful's a big hit, and Beautiful will tour. How did
Why do
the
you
little
say
show
it
topple
can have no tour?
But I think we have to
Patrick.
drive a nail in the coffin of the meme that we always say about the Roe vote. I don't think it's monolithic. I don't think that they vote necessarily their pocketbooks anymore, and I don't think even the fact that they threw off a whole block of press necessarily meant that the most acclaimed show would not win. The Gentleman's Guide was the most acclaimed show, I think, of the season.
And it was
certainly
the
one
only
of them.
nominee with a
With a full
fully
book.
original score.
Yeah,
That's
and I
more
think
the
that
point.
carried it. And I think they enjoyed it the most. I actually think that when it comes down to it, the Tony voters vote on the things that they enjoy the most and also the thing that moved them the most. And I think that explained Raisin in the Sun.
Jesse, is he actually making the case that there's integrity in the Tony voting after all these years?
I can't believe that. So I think he's got an angle. You know, I think it was a pretty evenly matched field. That's what I think happened. And when that happens, you get chaotic results. It could have been this or it could have been that, and they might have been separated by 3 votes for all we know.
Right.
So but in terms of Raisin in the Sun, that was the big shock to me.
Yeah, because we all thought 12th Night was going to win.
Yes, and it wasn't just the one award, that it was also Kenny Leon won for director and Sofia Okonedo for Best Supporting Actress, and I just think that Scott Rudin is magic.
You know, and I thought it was very interesting that, as Michael reported, Denzel missed getting the nomination by 1 vote in the second ballot, and had he gotten that
he blew off the Tonys. He wasn't at the Tonys.
Well, who could blame him
Scott
for that?
Rudin blew off the Tonys too. He's in London opening Skylight.
Yeah, but I mean,
he thought
Denzel
12th Night was going to win too.
And it was Audra McDonald who got that nomination.
Right.
They decided she was an actor in a play. I'm just glad Estelle Parsons didn't win whatever character she was in, whatever play she was in, because at the end she would have had to jump up there and hop around. And
All right, we got to address
Go to
this.
the hopping.
We got to address the hopping. So I think
or not.
it's the elephant in the room or the rabbit in the room.
So I mean, I talked to Hugh shortly before the Tonys, and he said he was been in training for what he was going to do, and I, of course, being a straight show queen, immediately recognized it was an homage to Bobby Van's famous bouncing scene in that great American movie musical classic, Small Town Girl from 1953. But I got to tell you, nobody
got that.
Nobody in Radio City Music Hall, all of those gay people we've been talking about, not a single
They
one.
haven't seen That's Entertainment too.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody. Did you know what was going on?
Didn't have a clue. And I'm sure that wasn't lost on the producers. They must have known this is not a universal statement that they're making.
No,
it must have operated on some other level.
Because they thought maybe he's Australian, so he's a kangaroo. Was
Yeah,
that
I think that must have been the take.
But did you
it
think
was
that number
pretty bizarre.
worked?
Did it work?
Not for me.
Not for me. But I was
If
very
his shirt
familiar.
had been off and the pecs were bouncing with him, maybe. But it was horrible.
But I didn't get that reference, although I'd seen that, and That's Entertainment.
But you got it right, Michael.
I got it. I
got
am
it.
gay, and
You win.
and I thought it
You're
was.
the gayest person
It
in
was
Radio City.
much livelier than that Sting number from The Last Ship.
Oh, my God.
Which looks like Billy Elliot meets Titanic.
What did you make of Sting's performance? He's got a new musical, we should say, coming up in the fall, trying out in Chicago right now, The Last Ship, set in Newcastle, and it's about that great subject for a musical comedy, the last ship built in a dying northern
Well, it's
dreary
not a
New
musical
England
comedy.
town.
There's I better check your crystal balls again. See what they're coming up with,
I thought that
because-
song was hilarious.
Oh no, then they are in trouble. I saw a concert of a lot of the songs, and they're beautiful. And
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think it's probably going to be very good, but it is not a feel-good kind of Tony's-looking show. I don't know what it was doing on there, but it did prompt that weird Neverland riposte from Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, explain that, Michael.
It's funny because Harvey was just calling me before we taped it.
Oh yeah.
Because I had heard on good authority that Harvey picked up the phone and called Les Moonves at CBS and said, I want Neverland on the show. And
Because the Last Ship was in.
yeah,
so
but
he
Harvey
wanted
now
his show.
denies that that's happened. It's like just mysteriously, Les decided, geez, I'd like that Neverland song on the telecast.
Let's get
At
Jennifer.
the best point in the show, right before the final award. That was
It
crazy.
just, it's circumstance. Harvey
And
had
who was-
nothing to do with
who
it.
was
Even if the-
Jennifer Hudson supposed to be? What character in Peter Pan? Is
I thought it
she?
was the.
Wendy.
I thot it was the bodyguard. I thought.
What did you make of that Finding Neverland number?
I didn't see it.
What?
Where were you?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you're watching the basketball game.
I was.
But to me-
because I'm the only straight sissy.
Yeah, I thought Carole King was effective.
I thought
Yeah.
Aladdin was really effective. I
Yes.
bet Aladdin sold.
And talk about lighting the
Lord.
loafers. That genie.
He's straight, actually. Believe he's married.
yes.
Talk about lighting the loafers.
Talk about
talking about the
lighting his lamp.
character.
Lighting his lamp.
But going back to Carole King, with the surprise appearance of Carole King that was scripted at O&M like 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was really effective.
I would say
That's
it's
gonna
very-
sell that show for a long
Well,
time.
I agree, even though it didn't win the Tony Award. But I ran into Tom Schumacher, who runs Disney Theatrical, and he told me after the Tony telecast that he checked the numbers after the Aladdin performance on the Tonys and went right.
Really?
The ratings were not bad.
Yeah. What other ratings?
They were just slightly down from last year, but still second best in 5 years. Last year being the best.
But
in
the
5
show was
years.
worse.
I don't know. To me, the Tonys all blend together now. I mean, the individual numbers rarely have any distinction because they just want to throw absolutely everything they have. Every cast member's got to be out there. That's why, even though I didn't particularly care for that song that Idina Menzel sang, I welcomed the fact that they chose just to have one strong
I thought that
performer
was
sing a
And,
song
and
bring
with
it
your
down.
favorite Bullets Over Broadway, they just did the gangster tap number, Take
Yeah.
Nobody's Business.
Which
actually-
worked well.
Which worked well, though Audra sings that song better in her show.
You know, it was
How did
I
that
think
get
next
such,
year the whole thing should just be on Logo.
how did Bullets Over Broadway get such a prominent placement in the show?
CBS says, listen, we are putting on an entertainment show,
Oh, all right.
and the awards are secondary.
But speaking of that, you know what was really shameful? This has been a trend over the recent years of pushing the technical awards into the unbroadcast hour. Now
the
they
creative
push
awards,
the
the
score,
writing,
the
yeah.
book, the directors,
Yeah,
and the choreographer. What is Broadway? I mean,
it's just a bunch of gay people hopping and tap dancing, apparently.
or
No
a
writers.
bunch of performers who are making up this stuff as they get up there.
Poor Jason, what's his name?
Jason Robert Brown won twice.
Can't even
at
become an
7:30.
egomaniac now. He was on during the commercial break.
I wrote to Charlotte St. Martin about that a few years ago, and she defriended me on Facebook.
Now, that's it. All right, so even though Jesse Green, our good friend, had a Tony Award
What are you
brunch
doing?
Sunday morning and did not invite myself or Susan Haskins, but invited a little spy of mine, somebody on this show who uses a pillow when he's here, who reported back, who actually said to me, so will I see you at Jesse Green's Tony brunch? And I said, what?
This is
I didn't
PBS,
say
Michael
that.
Riedel.
I had no
this
idea.
Is PBS.
So even though
Gotta
we're
cut
going
this
to
out, aren't you?
defriend Jesse Green on the Theater Talk Facebook, we are still going to recognize our ex-friend's birthday. So happy birthday, Jesse Green.
Oh,
birthday
to you. All ready, jump.
Happy birthday.
Everybody jump, please.
Happy birthday, dear Jesse. Happy birthday to you.
I don't like that number. Cut it.
All right, blow out your
Make a wish,
candle,
Bobby.
Lord. Make a wish.
I wish this show were over.
And you got it. Thank you very much, Patrick Pacheco, Michael Musto, and our ex-friend Jesse Green from New York Magazine. Thank you all very much. Joan Marcus has been photographing Broadway shows for, we won't say how many.
How many years?
I think, though, we all kind of began around the same time, the early 90s. We all began.
Oh,
our
I was
careers.
earlier.
You were earlier than that.
Earlier. I started like 80s. 80s.
Yeah, now some of you of a certain age remember the great Martha Swope, and Joan has carried on that great tradition of capturing the excitement of a Broadway show in still photography for newspapers and reviews and magazines. She's one of the best photographers out there, a great friend of ours. We're delighted to have her with us on Theater Talk, and congratulations on your honorary Tony Award.
Thank you so much.
Whose pick portrait did you do to swing the Tony Award?
It was like
Charlotte St. Martin's at the League and William Ivy Long.
total surprise.
Yeah.
And a really great one. I mean, totally at a time, just at a perfect time in my life. It was just heaven. It was just the best thing ever.
Well, it's richly deserved. So
Thank
I
you.
asked you, Joan,
Okay.
to bring with you today some of the photographs that are significant to you. I mean, you've done thousands and thousands.
Yeah, I was going to
and
say, do you
thousands.
have any idea how many shows you've shot? How many Broadway shows you've photographed?
I mean, I'd say, because, when I was doing this, I'd gotten the thing to write a bio, and I don't have a bio, so someone kind of wrote me one. and they said, you can edit it. So I did, and one of them said nearly 300 Broadway shows. Okay, so I thought, nah, that's wrong. That's not right. And you know what? On IBDB, it's 288. And actually, there's more because some of them don't even make it there.
Right.
So I would say like
Over.
over 300.
Before we get to your favorite pictures, I'm curious to know what is the key to capturing that live experience in still photography?
I don't know, actually, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, because, some shows actually lend themselves more to being photographed than others. But it's kind of capturing the moment that kind of defines, like, kind of all the elements of what that production kind of is.
So you go to see the plays, and when you're watching the plays before you shoot them, do you isolate particular images or moments you think, that's what I really want to get?
Sometimes, yes, that's like really, 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 really helpful. Sometimes it just, things happen that you didn't even see.
Well, show us a few of your favorite pictures over the years.
So what I brought were pictures that have, great meaning to me or I really liked. I have like this was my first Broadway show, okay? This is Zoe Caldwell. She played Lillian. It was about Lillian Hellman. It was a one-woman show.
Right.
And it was played at the Kennedy Center as a tryout, and then it came into New York. At the time, I was living in Washington, D.C., and I was on staff at the Kennedy Center. And so this was like a really great kind of thing. So Zoe really liked this picture, and because of that, I was hired to do my first Broadway show, which isn't here, and that was a show called The Petition. And that had Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy in it, and that was, I guess, 1986 or 7, and that was the first show that I was hired to do.
Right.
That wasn't at the Kennedy Center as a tryout, or that photo kind of
Your breakthrough.
was my breakthrough.
Yeah.
The next picture that's up there is a picture of largely New York, okay? And that show has huge significance to me.
That's Bill Irwin.
Bill Irwin, that also played at the Kennedy Center, okay, as a tryout. And because of that, okay, I met my husband, Adrian, okay.
Adrian Bryan Brown, one of the
Bryan Brown.
great press agents of Broadway.
So, that was one where I had taken the pictures, and the day of the opening in New York, my boss and good friend Tiki Davies said, do you want to come to the opening? And, it was one of those if-then moments where it was like I thought, sure, I'll go. And I went, and she was having drinks with Adrian, and I met Adrian.
And life changes.
And life changes, on just on a decision.
That's
That was 9.
Revival, roundabout.
Revival. That was like a really tough shoot for many reasons, and I love that picture. I just
Why was it a tough shoot?
for reasons I kind of can't go into. That's a whole other thing.
Mainly because there were several prominent women in the cast with large egos and they have photo approval over everything?
Not.
Or because Antonio Banderas is a charming guy, but whatever he says you can't understand?
No, none of those. I'll tell you later.
Harder to shoot musicals than it is plays, or are they both the particular challenges?
It's harder, but it's more flamboyant. It's more, it's bigger. Sometimes they can be more interesting because plays are really about the words, and musicals, it's about the production and the music and
the colors
and
and
the
the
colors
dazzle
and the so it's in some ways it's harder because it's bigger and it moves faster, and on the other hand the payoff is kind of grander than like in plays. So, but it's more difficult to actually shoot them.
Another one for us?
Tommy.
Oh,
Okay.
right, of course. Yeah.
Okay, and that also, one of the best experiences I ever had working. It was so much fun to work on that show. And it was the first time I'd had a big picture in the New York Times. Okay, it was kind of pre-Sarah Krolwich, my good friend.
Yeah.
But the
Who's
Times,
the photographer at the New York Times?
who's the great photographer at the Times. But they weren't covering as many shows because, prior to when I got here, Broadway was more of a closed shop.
Yeah.
And it was usually the production photographer, and that was it.
And that was
And so I had a huge half-page picture in the New York Times, and it was that picture.
That must have been a fairly exciting time when Adrian went to pick up the early
when he went to
edition.
get and it was there, and it was just, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So that was great. Well,
Oh, wow.
Angels in America. I mean, that was just a great play, and it was like kind of a stressful shoot. And we were running out of time, and this was the last picture we did of the day. We rushed and rushed and rushed and rushed and rushed, and we got this. That was another one. Rent, kind of being part of that, was just one of the most special things.
Did you ever photograph Jonathan Larson before he died?
No, and I was supposed to, but because like the day that, that was the final dress rehearsal, and, we came and we were supposed to do a picture afterwards of him, and he wasn't feeling well, and so, he went home, and we figured, I'll be back and we'll do it another time. And then, it's history,
He died.
He died that night, and it was, even before, it was just that night of that final dress rehearsal. I don't know if either of you were there. Were you there by any chance?
No, I wasn't. No.
It was just so special.
Next up we have,
Lion King. I put that picture in there because essentially to this day, when the sunrise, you have the blue and then the sun rises and the giraffes, I cry.
Yeah, yes.
I do. I
Yep.
cry.
When they lope
when
out.
they lope out,
yeah.
I start to cry. It's just so beautiful. So.
Right. Now, when you take this picture and you're working with a director as intense and
Yeah.
controlling as Julie Taymor, is she on there? Is she around you sort of helping to set up the shot too, or does she leave you to do your job?
Okay. With Julie, there's two things. This actually was taken at the final dress rehearsal. This was like, so she didn't set anything up. But she does control, when you do setups with her. She is very specific, way that she sees things. And the truth is, she's right.
We have time for one more, Susan?
Yeah, there are a couple more.
All right.
And this is my
Nice.
Book of Mormon is one of my favorite shows ever.
Musical comedies are the most fun to shoot for you, just because of the energy, the vibrancy?
No, musical comedies aren't, because I think sometimes musical comedy, like with something like actually Book of Mormon, you don't, the pictures don't do the show justice. What picture do you have that tells a story of Mormons and, so I think
that is a great
and
visual
this one
joke.
I think does,
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, what are these Mormons doing with Rafiki? And so this tells it.
Before you go, Joe, did you bring any pictures of your dog?
I did.
All right. Oh!
The real star of the
There's
show.
the real star. That's Buttercup. There was a period when I thought, I'm going to do dog portraits, but it just kind of hasn't taken off. But that was one of them, and that's my pup.
And if I'm not mistaken, don't you and your husband Adrian, when you fly, don't you take
did.
pictures of all of the meals on the airlines?
We did. We've done it maybe 30 years. We've been doing the pictures of the food. And before the internet, it became, and we actually were experts on airline
With the
food.
Zagats of airline food.
We would get interviews, seriously. It all started because someone from the Wall Street Journal was writing a thing. It was like when they were cutting down on airline food.
Right.
And so she called me and she said, we had a mutual friend, and she said, they said you fly a lot, and they said, what's going on with food? And I said, well, I have these pictures from 1980, and to now, and you can kind of see
You can chart the history of the dwindling airline meal.
And she said, you what? I said, yeah. So then she said, I've got to meet you. I've got to come over. And she did a piece on me and Adrian. Okay. And then after that morning that it ran, we were getting calls like, hi, this is Drive Radio. You're on the air. And then we were on CBS Sunday morning with Russ Mitchell.
Your pictures of airline food.
And then digital cameras happened, and people were posting them online.
Everybody's a
everyone's a
photographer.
photographer.
Everyone's a critic now, and everyone's a photographer now.
So it kind of lost its impact. But for a period, we were the airline food experts. So that was fun.
All right. Well, congratulations on your honorary Tony
Thank
Award
you.
and your frequent flyer miles. Joan Marcus, the great Broadway theater photographer. Thanks for being our guest on Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Andrew for Theater Talk at the 68th Annual Tony Awards.
We're hitting the red carpet to ask all the beautiful and talented people all the ridiculous and funny questions.
So when Obama went to go see the show, did that affect your performance in any way? And also, what was the one line that you remember saying to Obama that was the most profound line to say to him?
I think it was not my line, it was Mama's line in the play. She said, it seemed like God didn't see fit to give the black man nothing but dreams. And that kind of sent shivers down my spine.
Well, the one line that I'd want to say directly to him, I guess, fight from the heart, which is the title of one of my songs. And I think he'd truly understand what that meant.
Well, there's that line that I always felt self-conscious about that was like, you be the colored boy today and I'll be the lady. That I was like, it was written in the time period. I don't think Barack Obama, that would be his favorite line in the play.
Why can't a woman rule the kingdom?
Oh.
Maybe you'll get that wish in 2016 with Hillary.
Yes, exactly.
There's also a lot of cross-dressing on Broadway right now. Have you ever cross-dressed?
Yeah, privately.
And it was Arthur the Aardvark, at the mall. And it was, Arthur was a man, so that's kind of cross-dressing, but never in a debonair way.
I actually, as an actor, I spent 10 years as an actor, and I did 2 shows where I was in a dress. And I have to say, I rocked it.
If there's one costume that you could take out for a night on the town, what costume from Broadway would you wear out?
I would wear my Chanel suit. It's classic, it's timeless. It doesn't get any better than it.
Hedwig, of course. Speaking of cross-dressing, that would be an epic costume to wear. If my first role is going to be a cross-dressing role, that would be the one, I think.
So you might be understudying for Neil.
Yeah, if he'll let me, that'll be my next gig.
He's under contract right now.
Sorry.
Stop stealing our actors.
Have you ever cross-dressed?
No, but you know what? I'm going to do that for Halloween, maybe.
Who are we going to dress up as?
I don't know. Lena Hall.
Could you mispronounce John Travolta's name?
Okay. Wait, did Adele Dazeem come down here yet? Did she come down? Y'all waiting for her?
Jan Trinenta.
Han Gibraltar.
Jean Travolta.
Jean Travolta.
Jean Padiva.
Joan Rado, yeah.
Jan Visage. Jan Visage.
Von Kabolta.
Jish Tapapashish.
I will forever call him Vinnie Barbarino.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I like John. He's so sweet. You know, that stuff happens. We have to forgive and forget. He's so nice.
Thank you.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, plus public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency, and the Theater Development Fund's Technical Accessibility Program, which helps provide closed captioning.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.